Yuri, na ukue investigated. We really want to know what have you been doing about the fertilizer imports. Hata yule waziri mtoto wetu Bet, kuja utueleze mambo ya fertilizer imekuwa ikifanyika vipi, mambo ya mahindi kuleta mahindi kutoka ng'ambo imekuwa ikiletwa vipi, ili tuelewe na tusitishwe. Mambo ya kuja kuambia wananchi hapa mambo ya 2022 badala ya kuambia uchumi yao imezoroteka, atutaki.
Those are a section of members of parliament from the North Rift once again who want Deputy President William Ruto investigated. Dismiss.
You see, those are three MPs are asking the government to investigate Mr. Ruto. So really, I don't know what they mean when they're asking the government. Are they, in other words, telling the president that your deputy is part of this scandal? Are they asking President Kenyatta to ask DCI to investigate the deputy president? Because what do they mean when they say we are asking the government to do the investigation? But outside the mere words, we've been told for the longest time that Rift Valley is under lock and key, that it's been sealed. So whether or not President Kenyatta actually orders an investigation into this, those are three MPs, they're offering some sort of irritation, some sort of nuisance value, so as to break that perception that the rift has been sealed. Obviously, there are cracks. And even if they don't achieve any progress, the fact that they can actually irritate the deputy president from where he's supposed to be having his bedrock support, it's very telling. Because it takes an MP with a fair amount of guts and resources to make those statements. And the big question should be, are those three MPs acting on their own motion because they love the farmers? Or maybe there's somebody who is ringing the bell? Or are they in receipt of understand the MPs normally get per diems over the weekends. So are they in receipt of some per diems? In other words, when you see a dog barking, look for the owner. So who was given these MPs instructions to start making this noise? Are they acting on their own motion? That's the first bit. And then there's the second bit that we've elected to ignore for the longest time possible. That if somebody decides to go to Mexico or China or the US and get maize to Kenya, there's nothing wrong, provided it meets the conditions as expected. So if somebody has gone to Uganda and has bought maize and the National Cereals and Produce Board has decided to buy the maize, there's nothing wrong. Kipchumba is a lawyer, will confirm that you cannot take that person to court and tell him you got maize from China, you sold it to Kenya. It just may be a moral crime that you are going to buy maize in China instead of buying maize from the locals. And the locals need to smell the coffee that Esbon Wheeler says is running out at Capitol Hill. That this is a liberalized economy where supply is supposed to meet demand. So you're producing your maize. If for some reason the leadership from your local area is not supporting you to access the markets, then have a conversation about yourself. Ask yourself, are we going to be growing these cabbages or avocados, or are we going to punish these politicians by kicking them out of office? Essentially, what those three MPs are saying is that this gentleman called William Samoei Ruto, who is our kingpin from this region and the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, has committed a moral crime by not supporting your selfish interest. I mean, would you imagine what would have happened if the deputy president was, say, Joe from Mombasa? Those MPs would run Joe out of town. But here now they are lost. That the second most powerful man in Kenya comes from Uasin Gishu. These maize farmers are from Uasin Gishu. Now, why do they cry? Those MPs are looking helpless. And understand some of those MPs are billionaires. They are wealthy farmers. But you see, they're helpless. They're behaving like members of the civil society. Actually, this is what you would expect well-paid members of civil society to tell the president, not MPs. Can these MPs go and discuss the deputy president at the National Assembly or the Senate if they actually have evidence that is part of this scandal? Because again, we must get to a space where we are not going to allow MPs to drag the reputation of people through the mud. If they have evidence that in fact the deputy president is part of this scandal, can they have an appointment with Mr. Kinauti tomorrow morning and present the evidence? Or otherwise, they just hold peace and tell us maybe there's somebody who's given them sponsorship and they're making noise. Because we can't allow, I mean, these guys are running on our budget. We pay for them. All these after they made that allegation, they flew to Nairobi on taxpayer resources. We expect them to give us concrete information. We cannot have members of the National Assembly behaving like members of civil society.
And speaking about concrete information, Mark, from all those members of parliament we've heard speaking, no one has quoted anything from the audit conducted at NCPB that was stable in parliament. They didn't mention the name of the current Agriculture Cabinet Secretary, Mwangi Kwinjuri. They've gone for the jugular. That is the Deputy President, William Ruto. What are you reading in this?
There's a lot of, you see, the problem with the Kenyan IQ, especially the IQ of a politician, it is tampered with a lot of nonsense. That's a problem. You know, it's almost like without Ujinga, we cannot survive in this country. Because the truth of the matter is this. In our laws, there is something called parliamentary immunity. It is given so that MPs can have free hand to discuss whoever, whenever on the floor of the House, okay? If they were serious, if this country was serious, they would go to the floor of Parliament and say, we have had their shambas in Congo. We've had their avocados being planted for the sake of factories owned elsewhere. We've had, go and discuss those things in Parliament. Let me tell you, this roadside bravery needs to stop in this country. If you are the kind of person who wants to change this country, take a leaf from 11 MPs in South Africa called the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, who have single-handedly hounded Jacob Zuma out of office. Why? Because they took their positions seriously and they took a stand and stood by what they believed. This nonsense of politicians making politically popular statements without actions behind them, they should let it go. In fact, let me be the first to say this. Anyone who wants to talk about the deputy president and does not want to give us evidence should shut up, because we are tired of it. You're not going to call him Arab this, Arab that every day and never deal with it. Okay? You're irritating. Stop it. Either deal with him or shut up. Okay? And if you're going to get per diems, my friend, do what voters do. They eat from that vote, from that candidate and that other candidate and make private decisions. Do not talk according to how you're paid. This is the problem with our MPs. How much is your brain that it is bought for 100,000 shillings every weekend for you to go parrot around like the rest of us can't think? Please, these jokes in this country needs to stop. Okay? It is very, very easy. If you want to tell us serious things, go to the floor of Parliament and, like George Saitoti, say these are the people who have been bringing drugs to Kenya. Okay? That's bravery. Don't come and say roadside things here that you can't prove. Because you cannot move a country forward unless people have the courage to do what is right. And what is the right thing? If William Ruto is innocent, leave him alone. If he is guilty, give us the evidence. That's all we want. These games of where we must have roadside and nonsensical conversations about issues that affect the bread and butter of every Kenyan, it does not benefit. You are a member of Parliament. You have oversight capacity. You can walk to NCPB and demand to see as a member of Parliament. You can inspect those things. You can go and say, give me the records of who delivered. And then now you want to tell us, let government investigate. My friend, stop being lazy. Stop being useless. If you do not want to do your job as a member of Parliament, go home and join the retirement committee.
So they should raise these issues in Parliament with concrete evidence.
Yes.
That is the point of view of Mark, and dismiss. Esmond, do you have a different point of view?
I can't agree more, man. Because you look at anyone who has been mentioned adversely, and I think the deputy president's name has featured in so many things that he would essentially want to define himself. And no one fears investigation, because it is only through investigation that you are exonerated from any wild allegation and speculation. And I think this is welcome. I mean, if someone was going to investigate the deputy president in all this maize scandal and the fertilizer scandal thing, it only gives Kenyans an opportunity to appreciate whether he is implicated or not. And if he is not, I think it can only serve a greater good for him. But I think the whole issue of the maize scandal and farmers being paid or not being paid is not an individual affair, it's a systemic thing. And when you have 3 MPs from a region dropping names of people from their region, you actually start questioning on whose motion are they acting, because the current CS was not even mentioned in their statement. They mentioned the immediate former CS, who happens to be one of their own. They dropped the deputy's president's name there. And, you know, from there, they just want to move on because that thing has gained traction. It is in the public domain that they said that, and they know nothing is going to be done because they're just playing politics. But I want to agree with Mark and Dismas that members of parliament, you know, have absolute privilege on the floor of parliament. And if they were serious about anything that they were saying and they are acting on the behest of farmers who are suffering, they would go to parliament and make those statements. They would even make the work of journalists easy because within the precincts of parliament, journalists also have qualified privilege, in which case anything that someone says about any other person, they can cover. Outside there, when you're making noise, you're just a Mkereketu and any other Kenyan who can be accused for defamation. And I think the fact that they're outside there making noise and they're waiting for another opportunity to attack the deputy president is unfortunate, you know, for leaders who are paid to oversight, to legislate and represent. They're actually not representing their people by making a lot of noise. And I think it is important. It is important that even the media follows up on this, that they cannot just make reckless allegations, not just about the deputy president, but about anyone, that they have that absolute privilege on the floor of parliament, go to parliament, present what they have. Yes.
Kipchumba? I think this is a very unique moment. We're all in agreement.
Yeah. As a son of a farmer and a farmer myself, I am caught in a conflicted position, but just as Hezbon talked about coffee, I can smell coffee. One thing that we should not do, and we should not allow the people of North Rift, that means the people of Trans Nzoia, Uasin Gishu, Nandi County, Kakamega, to be engaged in some parts of Narok County. The issue of maize, the maize problem, will not be solved through street political rallies and town hall meetings. We cannot allow busybodies, conmen, and brokers to be the people who are the conscience of the debate about maize problems. Look at it this way. The whole political noise is about 2022. We know where the member for Silas Tiren wakes up and sleeps. He is a man who is always seen in that something like an airport in Kabarak. In parliament, and I'm asking this today, and whether if there is somebody who represents the 3 members of parliament, this one should reach them. They were elected to represent, oversight, and legislate. And I have never seen a clip whereby Alfred Keter is addressing parliament. I have never seen where Silas Tiren is addressing parliament. Joshua Kutunya has always been addressing parliament, but on mundane issues. This is a serious issue where we cannot...
has been very vocal, I guess.
But vocal in terms of press conferences. Does it mean that his press in parliament has been pressed off? Mr. Muturi, the speaker, kindly put it on so that Keter can address issues in parliament. Back to serious issues. The deputy president and the office of the deputy president does not house the Ministry of Agriculture. The PS for Agriculture does not emanate from there. And the other thing you're saying that we must remember is this. One, the deputy president of the whole country is not the deputy president of the Kalenjin nation. He's the deputy president of those who produce maize and those who consume maize. We cannot today force him to say the maize price will be 3,600. What about the consumers? Who will consume that maize? The people in Kibera need to eat maize which is consistent with their daily income. That is now how we want to run an equitable country. The other point is this. While these members of parliament might look like they are raising pertinent issues, they have parliament to address those issues. Look at it this way. We have never seen any member of parliament come up with a bill that, let's say, put a cap limit or raise the taxation, the tax on import duty on maize. They have not done so. Look at what has been done in milk. Milk has an import duty. If you import today powder milk, it is taxed at 60%. What do our parliamentarians do? They yawn around, take their weekly per diems from Kabarak, go and attack other politicians. I think it is wrong. The other thing is this. While we might want to say things about other individuals, why don't we talk about things that can, why don't we go to DCI and report? That will help us. The other thing, whatever we are trying to do here is we are trying to set ground for a certain politician. We know. But while that is allowed, it should be done in a civil manner. And lastly, to my point, there is no crime known as those people who sell maize have done no crime. If today I am a businessman in Wasingishu and I buy maize, I mop up maize from farmers and I sell it to NCPB, there is no crime known in law. Even if today I import maize from Mexico and sell it to NCPB, I have done no crime. As long as I have paid duty, done all the requisite importation regulations. But what must be done now to cure this? Our parliamentarians must go back to parliament, legislate on that matter, get away the bottlenecks, empower NCPB and the strategic grain reserve so that it can consume maize, it can mop up maize, first of all, from the farmers before importation. The other thing, why we are engaging in empty talk.
You mentioned something to do with DCI, and I see Mark. You want to react to...
No, it's a very simple principle. The issue of imported maize is a moral question, and it's very simple to answer. If you are a member of the government or the executive or the legislature or even the judiciary of this country, and Harambee Stars is playing, you can never support any other team. Okay? That is common sense. You cannot be a Kenyan leader and you're busy supporting Mexican maize, Moroccan maize, all of those things. That is nonsensical. What are you leading? It is like me going to a swimming gala where my son is swimming and then I'm busy cheering for Yusuf's son. Sure. Which home will I return to? But this is the kind of nonsense we accommodate in this country.
Yes.
It should not even be a matter of law. It should be a matter of common sense. How can you then say that you're going to pay a guy who is bringing maize from Uganda or from the DRC of Congo, and then you ignore the local farmer? We don't even need to investigate you. We need to excommunicate you from this country because clearly you're more loyal to the Americans or wherever you're getting your maize from than you are to Kenya. And you swore to uphold the constitution, to love this country, and to act in the best interest of this country. That's the simple matter.
Clearly, we've had a systemic problem in this sector. Dismos, you want to react to...
Yeah,
I'll just give you a minute to react to that before we cross over to another topic.
Yes, Mark Bishachi must be advised that the tragedy in our Kenyan political space, majority of our politicians and public servants of rank are in fact capitalists. And capitalists are loyal to the dollar. So if the dollar is coming from China at the expense of your farmers at home, that's what they're going to be doing. And again, I think it's unfair for us to say that MPs can only raise issues at the National Assembly or the Senate. There's nowhere in law where it's indicated that if you're an MP, the only place where you can raise an issue is at the National Assembly. You can raise these issues at a funeral. It happens in Western Kenya. You can raise the issues by the roadside, provided you attract attention. Maybe the reason date for these 3 MPs, they just want to attract the attention to an issue. They probably know very well that if you attempt to take a motion to the National Assembly or the Senate, the House Business Committees will never give you the light of day. So they've taken these opportunities to make noise at funerals or by the roadside.
You're about to open another Pandora's box. I see